Ever felt like most trailers out there sacrifice function for form? Get ready to flip that script. This is the Peak Mtn Camp X33, built from the ground up with real-world adventure in mind. In just a few minutes, we'll take you inside the trailer that's tough enough for the backcountry freedom, smart enough for daily living, and cozy enough to make every sunset feel like home. Let's go. All right, guys, we're going to go around the exterior of this, show you what's going on. I'm dressed really fancy, and a lot of that is because on the last video, we had someone comment that they would love to see me cleaned up and speaking proper grammar. I cleaned up, but I'm not going to be speaking proper grammar. So, and I hope that that was a lady that commented that. But anyways, we're going to go over the exterior. This is an X33. I think I said 32 on the interior, but it's an X33, so a 27-foot box and then 33 feet from bumper to tongue. So this one's gonna weigh in at about 10,500 pounds with a tongue weight that's going to be 10 to 15% of what that weight is. So all of these camps are built specific to the layout, so we get axle placement, tongue weights, all of those things, what they need to be. They did add some features to this. They had some special needs and stuff, which all of them have different needs. So this one we were able to add some different things to help accommodate what they needed. We've got an extra handrail on the front to help them get in and out. We do have the Bulldog 4,000-pound electric jack on this one. 2 5/16 adjustable coupler. This coupler is rated at 21,000 pounds. So we do everything. We engineer all of these to be able to accommodate the loads, everything that needs to happen that way to where they pull really good, especially in a bumper pull. So like I mentioned, you've got your 7-pound or your 7-gallon, 30-pound propane tanks up here. They are on a auto changeover to where you can select a different tank. When one runs out, it'll automatically pull off of the other one. You have a storage up in this tongue area. And as you latch these grates will pull out. And we keep all of our stabilizer jacks, tire chocks, whatever in there that you don't care about being in the weather. You can put them in there. So really nice use of space. As we lay all of these camps out, we try and give you the best use of space because, you know, as we work on other trailers, we find, yeah, we get in a cabinet or whatever and you can't use it because they put something there. And so we try and just figure out what's going to be the best use of space in all areas of these trailers. So as you can see, we have the diamond plate down the side. It's called a wainscot. This was an add-on that they wanted. Makes it look really sharp. And then when they pair that with the aluminum wheels on this one, it's a sharp-looking trailer. Another add-on they added was the awning. And then this one does. If you look under here, we have our tank enclosure. So this is an enclosure that's insulated that holds our holding tanks. They're a 40-gallon holding tank on your black and your gray. That is insulated, and then there's heat ducted in there from the furnace, as well as electric heating elements on those tanks and on the pipes. So a lot of options as far as winter use, cold months, all of that stuff to keep you from freezing up or anything. Water heater, 6-gallon. This is a propane only. You can get them two-way with both the electric and we do get people that'll ask us about the on-demand stuff, and it's really going to come down to what climates you're using them in. For us, we range from anywhere from 0 degrees and below to 115 degrees. So in those cases, those colder months, the on-demand water heater just doesn't cut it for us. So There's, like I say, they're all custom, so you can get them however you want. But this is your access door to your wood box. This feeds all the way through, so you can put all of your wood, your ash bucket, kindling, whatever, newspaper, whatever you're going to use to build fires, because this does have a wood burning stove for those of you that haven't watched the channel. Very efficient wood burning stove, and as efficient as these camps are in their insulation values and everything, they'll maintain that temperature for a long time. This is just a fresh air intake, so all of your fresh air or combustible air is being brought in from the outside of the camp rather than inside the camp. That just keeps that fire burning more efficiently. 2 outside storage boxes on this one, and this has to do with the configuration on the interior. So the way that the bed's set up in here, we're able to utilize this storage, and as you can see, just lots of open storage in this. You can do pull out Blackstones, pull out camp chefs, whatever you want to do in these. Lots of options. So as we move around to the back, we have our 200-watt solar panels. These come standard on all of them. You can add extra panels. You can add ports for portable panels. You can do a lot of configuration. And like I say, it's going to come down to how you use it. I like to think that all of these are off in some remote location, but that's not reality. A lot of them are plugged into campgrounds or on property or whatever that way. But they are set up to where, yeah, if you're boondocking, they're fully capable. As I mentioned, this one's got your 200-watt standard, and then it's got 6-volt batteries in it. So lots of capacity for what they're doing. They did have us add these backup lights. They're actually brake lights. They'll flash when they hit the brake pedal. They almost are enough to give you a seizure. They might be more of a hazard than what they're worth, but they'll get attention, and that's what these customers were going for. They did have us add an extra brake light too. Sounds like where they travel and stuff, the drivers aren't real great, which that, in my experience, that's everywhere. But you have your coax. This is for antenna. Now this one does have a Winegard 360 antenna on top, so they can pick up close to 100 stations in most places with just the antenna that's on it. And then it is set up for Starlink or other forms of internet, where it's just got your connection here. You can plug in, and whether you do a Starlink or, like I say, we've done a number of different ones. So water fills, this one has 2 42-gallon freshwater tanks in it. So you've got a fill on this side as well as a fill on that side to fill those tanks. They're on separate fills, which allows you to select a tank. So you can either use these to where, as you can see, this one's full. Well, they're both full right now, but I can use them and I can equalize that out, which distributes weight good. Or if I find that I'm dry camping or whatever, I can close them off and be done. All of your winterization stuff is in here. Really slick, easy, not a lot to do there. So those do all have lighted storage. You do have a receiver on the back, and it is wired to where if you're pulling doubles, I get a lot of comments about, we can't pull doubles in our state or whatever. You'll want to look at the regulations there, but whether you're using a bike rack, generator rack, whatever, you do have a receiver tube there. And then if you are, or if you're capable in your state to pull doubles, it is set up there. It is wired as well with electric brakes, so if the trailer you are pulling behind has brakes on it, it is set up to where it'll work off your brake controller. City water connection, that way if you are at a campground or have a piece of property or anything, you can hook your hose right up to it and do what you need to do there. This back compartment has our batteries in it. So as I mentioned, we've got 6-volt AGM batteries. So these are a 224 amp hour battery. So you have roughly 700 amp hours of battery capacity here. And I will get a lot of comments about lithium and all sorts of different things. These are all custom, so you can do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, when we talk to customers, it comes down, we could sell you a lot of fancy products that are out there right now, But at the end of the day, we know that you work hard for your money. And so if we can accomplish the same thing and save you money, we want to do that. And so like these AGMs, I've got camps out there that are on 10 plus years on AGM batteries. When you match them with the solar and those type of things, they work great. And you know, at the cost of these, I'm a fourth of the cost of what you would be for lithium. So if you're sold on lithiums or whatever, we're happy to do lithiums for you. But we're just going to weigh our options and see what works best for us. So we've got our solar controller. So right now we're at 14.2 volts. I can just cycle through this. Right now we're putting 2.2 amps of solar into the batteries. Our batteries are at 100%. But that'll just kind of tell you what the conditions of everything is there, and it just does what it needs to do. So if your batteries are low, it's going to charge them up. It's going to allow them to cycle, do a bunch of stuff. This is just open storage, so more outside storage on this one. 7,200 pound axles with an 8 lug wheel. These are 14 ply tires. And you have from the ground to the bottom of this angle iron, you have almost 30 inches of clearance. So lots of clearance on these. You've got a 30,000 BTU furnace. Now this is you've got the wood stove in there, so I love options. I love options for lighting. I love options for heating. That way if something does fail or you run out of propane or your batteries are dead or whatever, there's always options. So the majority of our customers, they go with a furnace as well in there, even though they've got that wood burning stove. So it is nice to be able to hit that thermostat, warm it up, not have to burn a fire or whatever. So, and that is ducted into that tank enclosure that I told you about, keeps those tanks from freezing. You have a 30 amp service. This is a 25-foot cord, allows you to plug in campgrounds or whatever, run a generator. Really the only thing that you would need to be plugged in for on this particular camp would be your air conditioner, your microwave, if you wanted to run the fridge on AC. Otherwise, everything's all 12 volts. So fridge vents, they did have us add the lights on all 4 corners, so they're all switched. They're on dimmers to where when they're out cooking outside, which granted, that's what we do when we go. We like to cook outside, spend time outside. So to be able to light that area up is going to be nice for them. Here you have your wastegates for your black and your gray tank. As I mentioned, they're all insulated and enclosed. You have your stabilizer jacks, all 4 corners. And that pretty much wraps up the exterior. I didn't want to take a lot of time because I know that most of you are going to want to see what's on the interior. So anyways, let's go inside and I'll show you what it has to offer. The moment you've all been waiting for. Let's get in this interior and show you what we have going on. Very nice, wouldn't you agree? So let's hurry and go through colors like we do on all of our camp tours. What we've got in this one is we've got an old mill oak wall. And then the cabinet color is a Nepal teak. Winter Carnival is what the countertops are. Then Heritage buckskin on the floor with the chocolate brown recliners. And then we've got beechwood colored cushions. So, as I mentioned on the exterior, this is an X33. So a 26, almost a 27-foot box living space. This one, there's a lot of things in here that were kind of special needs, which all of our camps are all custom built, so you can get them however you want them. And so we're going to set them up to fit your needs, your wants, all of those things. So let's get up here in the front. As you can see, giant closets up here. So this is where a lot of that, I mean, a lot of our most popular floor plans, let me turn on some lights in here, are going to be really that X30, which would be a 24-foot box. So by going to a little bit bigger living space, They've got a really spacious closet here. Lights inside. These are all hardwood cabinetry, so this would be very similar to what you'd find in a high-end home. These are all a knotty alder, and then they're finished, as I mentioned, this is finished in a Nepal teak color. And then all soft close hinges, as you can see, we've got 3 hinges on this one, all soft close. And then they selected their own hardware, so whatever you want as far as hardware, we can do all of that. They wanted the cup pulls on all their drawers, but you can see on these the character from that knotty alder, just a lot of cool character in them, especially in this color. Now these are all dovetail drawers. Oh, I just locked it. So all dovetail drawers on latching drawer slides. So these will come in and they'll latch, keeping them in. And then we also put these thumb latches on each of these bigger drawers just to ensure that they don't come out. That's a big pet peeve of ours in dealing with RVs and things of that nature. A lot of times the customer comes in, their complaint is, hey, we showed up to our camping site, our drawers were all out, the drawer slides were broke, stuff all over the place. We don't want to have that issue. So we go through the trouble of doing better, higher quality drawer slides, and then, yeah, adding those thumb latches on there to make sure that things stay where they need to stay. So big group of drawers there. As we move farther towards the back, we have our two-way fridge. This is an AC as well as LP fridge, so power or propane. And then they did the black inserts in there. Kind of gives it a sharp look as it matches all their hardware with the black trim and everything. But as you can see this, if I turn it on, we're gonna go to auto, which is the A, and it's plugged in right now. So we're automatically going to find electricity. And if it doesn't find that, then it switches to propane. So really nice, lots of space in here. And then the freezer is good size as well. So we can open that up and show you in there. Feels nice. It's about 95 degrees today. And I've got the wood stove burning so that I can show you. So we're gonna try and get through this fairly quick so that I don't get too hot. But we've got our convectional microwave. This does have the air fry in it as well. And this is the built-in one. So those of you that have watched the channel have probably seen a lot of the camps where we elevate this fridge up a little bit and put the furnace below it so that you don't have to bend down to get into the fridge area. But by doing that, I can't do this built-in microwave, at least not in this location. We could do it somewhere else if that's something that you wanted. So most of the time, if we elevate that fridge, we're gonna move that microwave up higher, which would take the place here, and then put doors on. So whether you did a microwave that was behind doors, a little bit smaller microwave, or whether you relocated this somewhere else, there's tons of options as far as what you want to do there. So we move forward, we've got our stereo set up. This is Bluetooth compatible, satellite compatible, all of those good things. We've got a little bit of storage up here. And then in these ones, we have our pull-out pantries. And as I mentioned, there was about 2 pages of notes that this customer wanted. And so one of those things was for us to add 2 rails to this top for spices and things that way. It's not a big deal. We're building them all custom. So if there's things like that that you need or want, let's do it while we're building it. And then same thing, these have thumb latches to keep them in. And they've got 3 drawer slides along them, so they stay really secure as well. You have your lower pantry on that one. And then we have our propane gas light. This thing, I love it. It's vintage in a lot of ways. You don't see these a lot anymore, but you wouldn't believe the amount of light that this puts off as well as heat. I find that I use this a lot in the early spring as well as early fall when it's cool enough that I don't want to burn the wood stove, or warm enough I don't want to burn the wood stove, but it's still kind of chilly. I can light this up and it'll take the chill right off. I like the type of light. It's warm, it's inviting. It's just kind of cool. So you can dampen that down and turn it completely off. But kind of cool. This is very popular. This is an option if that's something that you want in your camp. Then we have our monitoring system. This is just going to take us through all of our, I still got the protective stuff on there. This will take us through all of our tank levels as well as our batteries. You can set alarms, everything that you want to do here to make sure that everything stays where you need it to be. So as you can see, gray tanks at 7%, black tanks at 4%. This one does, as I showed you on the exterior, have 2 freshwater tanks. So that'll give us readings for all of those. Run it through all of those things. Obviously nothing gave us an alarm, which you'll get an alarm. The way that I set these up is we'll set an alarm to where when those freshwater tanks drop below 25%, you're going to get an alarm. When the black and the gray tanks reach 75%, you're going to get an alarm telling you, hey, we're getting full, let's think about dumping, or we're getting low on fresh water, think about filling up or conserving, whatever you need to do there. But very cool setup. Like I say, you can set this however you want, and then it'll take a reading every 10 minutes. So it'll monitor that stuff and yeah, do what it needs to do. We've got our water pump, and then down below we have all of our switches. So we have heaters, as I mentioned on the exterior as well. These are electric heating elements on the black and the gray and the plumbing pipes. So if you are in cold climates, those colder months, you can flip those on and they'll bring the temperature up of those tanks up to 60, 65 degrees. So really nice, especially in those colder temperature. Now there's so many options as far as what we do in these tank enclosures. So as I showed you on the exterior, this one does have the tank enclosure. So if you're running your furnace, it's going to pump that warm air from that furnace into that tank enclosure and keep those tanks warm. It's insulated, does a really good job. That's my preferred method. Now, I don't like to run the furnace in the winter because I'm using the wood stove. So even when I'm using the wood stove, I'm just going to show you right now, because I've got that wood stove going. If I turn this furnace on, okay, right now this thing's probably set at 90 degrees and we're above that in here. And so you can probably hear that furnace isn't coming on. And so that's the same thing in the winter. If I'm using this in the winter, that thermostat's going to be satisfied as long as I'm using that wood stove. And so what I like to do is I'll turn my furnace on and I'll set it about halfway, about 60 degrees. That way, if I am out and about, exploring or whatever, right, ran to town to get groceries, whatever the case is, and it gets cold in here, that furnace is going to kick on and keep it warm until I get back and can build a fire or whatever. But the downside to this is if that furnace is not running, then I'm no longer forcing that hot air or that warm air into that tank enclosure. And so the way that we have figured out a way around that, I guess, is we have a recirculation fan. What that's going to do is that's going to pull hot air from the wood burning stove and it's going to circulate it throughout the camp and into that tank enclosure. So regardless of whether your furnace is running or not, we can still circulate that heat down in there, because I use these tank heaters as kind of a last resort kind of thing. If I see that it's going to be super cold, I'm going to turn those on, not worry about it. The downside to these is they do draw a lot of power. So if I'm off grid, boondocking, any of those things, I'm going to want to be conscious of these. I'm going to set alarms on my battery, make sure that I don't drop down into that 40% range. Because I don't want to cause any damage that way. If you're plugged in, if you're using this as a guest house, Airbnb, whatever that way, and you're plugged into shore power or a generator, I don't hesitate at all to use these. Now, the black and the gray tank are on built-in thermostats, so even though I turn them on, they're not going to be on right now, just because that temperature is above that 40 degrees. So once that temperature drops below 40 degrees, they're going to turn on and they're going to run. And I mean, I wish I could tell you how much power those draw, but it's all based on so many different factors. How much water's in the tanks, how cold it is, all of those things are gonna play an important role in how long it's going to take and how much power those are gonna use. So I use those as kind of a backup. And then you've got like options for cabinet lights, which they didn't do in here. So that's an option. You have your water heater. This is your switch for it. It's an AC only, or propane only, sorry. Then you've got AC outlets throughout. This is a 3-person dinette. So you've got a little bench. And the reason I like this 3-person dinette, depending on what your circumstances are, I don't like the 4-person dinette in this layout because it creates a bottleneck here in the floor plan, because that bench is going to come out farther. By doing this 3-person, we really open that up to where you can have quite a few people in here and not feel crammed at all. So that's really nice. It still will fold down and make a bed. So if you are sleeping someone, these cushions are sized specifically to this dinette, to where once you fold it down, you can lay those cushions out and they will make a bed. So kind of nice there if you do need to sleep someone else. They did do the shades on this one, the blind boxes. So each one of these, I'll turn this light off so we don't have a glare, has a different engraving, and you can decide what you want to do on these. So this one kind of has a combination of some different things, some elk, some pheasants, some deer. Really cool that way. And they just slide up. I mean, it might seem kind of dark in here, but there's actually a lot of natural light when those windows are open. But as you can see on this one, a little bit different. We got a forest scene with some deer. And in the back one, we got a little cattle scene. Some mountains. So yeah, lots of options as far as what you want to do on the blind boxes. Those are an upgrade. You can do blinds, or excuse me, curtains is what would come standard on all of them. And if you want to build your own curtains, we have a lot of customers that'll do that. We can give you the dimensions. You can do all of that stuff. Then we have our recliners. These will lay down pretty much flat. So you can, in fact, I find myself sleeping on these quite frequently. This one, we did do the center console in it. So it does have your charging port for your phone on the top, and then a little storage area here, as well as some cup holders. And then this has become really popular for a lot of you that are a multi-use trailer, to where you might be hunting with buddies, you don't want to sleep in the same bed, but then when your wife comes or whatever, we do them to where you can slide the beds together. Lots of configurations that we can do with this. So really nice the way that it lays out. These are 2 twin XLs, so a little bit longer for adults and everything. And then we've got drawers underneath, so big dovetail drawers underneath. And then you've got some drawers in their nightstand in between. This is just a grab handle. As I mentioned, we have some special needs, so I'll mount this when they come, when I can kind of get a location of it. We have our AC outlets, USB ports, 12-volt plug all back here. There is some reading lights with USB ports on them as well. So these are just touch, so I can set 3 different brightnesses. So I can change those colors and everything on them, which makes it nice, you know, when you're reading whatever light you prefer. Lots of overhead storage. These are all on gas struts that'll hold these doors open. They also will hold them closed, so you don't have to worry about gear and things like that falling out. There is reading lights above these recliners as well. And then you've got your remote for your fantastic fan. This will pull air in, pull air out. You can set different speeds. It has a rain sensor that will automatically close if it starts to rain. Really nice. This is nice when trying to regulate the temperature from the wood burning stove. To be able to do that makes it really easy. The rear, we do have an egress window. We're required to have 2 exits. So back by the beds and then also by the front. There's our fantastic fan. All LED lights, rosewood trim. And you've got your speakers in the ceiling. More overhead. Also up in here, it is set up, as I mentioned, for Starlink. So you have all your Starlink connections. This one does have the Winegard 360 antenna. So it will serve as an antenna both for the stereo as well as the TV. So just here at our shop, I can pick up about 100 to 150 stations with that. Now granted, most of them you probably don't want to watch unless you speak Spanish, but it will pick up a lot. So that's an awesome option when you're boondocking to be able to have TV. So it is set up with an entertainment center with a big bank of drawers. So you've got 6 big drawers here. You've got your outlets and everything on the top, and then it does have an outlet up here to where we can mount a TV right there too if you want. Then, as I mentioned, the star of the show, this thing, it's about run me out of here already. My camera's already told me once it's too hot. So, but this thing is just a game changer. Being able to feel that heat sitting right across from it. As you sit here and relax and watch TV, you're almost drawn more to the wood stove than you are the TV. So this thing, once it's warm in here, I mentioned on our last video some of the differences. Just to tell you guys that are watching for the first time, this camp, well, all of our camps have 6 inches of R19 in the floor, 6 inches of R19 in the ceiling, and then the walls are framed up like your house. They've got a 1/2 inch interior piece, 3/4 inch framework, then another 1/2 inch piece, then our Tyvek moisture barrier, and then the metal goes on. And so they're very well insulated. So once you get it to temperature, whether that's hot or cold in here, it'll maintain that temperature for a long time. They're very efficient. The appliances are very efficient due to that. Just a really, really nice product. So as we move back to the front, we have our 3-burner cooktop. Now you can do ovens, you can do a bunch of different things as far as what you want to do there. And then more drawers. They've got more drawers in this camp than they'll probably know what to fill them up with, but you never can have too much, right? Lots of counter space. Stainless steel sink. All their fixtures and everything are black in this one to match all their hardware. This one does have the pull-out garbage can as well. So they've got a little pull-out garbage can there. Your oven range hood, and then more storage, and then another window there over the sink. And then as we come in here to the bathroom, this is a solid 1.5 inch thick door. So nothing like that you would find. In fact, I don't have doors this nice in my house. But you can see we've added some grab handles and some different things to help make it easier for this couple. They've got grab handles in their shower. This will be a shower curtain. So I don't have the curtain on right now. Little folding chair. That's a 32 by 32 shower. And then you've got your porcelain toilet. And then they did a deeper vanity with a bigger sink. So lots of space there. They've got their tip outs, they've got drawers. They've got lots of space to work with in this one. You got your mirrored medicine cabinet, your exhaust fan. This is a frosted window. And then all LED lights throughout, so not a lot of power consumption or anything. That's the thing, I like to think that all of these are off-grid somewhere, but truth be told, a lot of them are going from campgrounds or property to where they are plugged in, and they are set up to do all of that stuff. So one thing I'll just mention as we close up here, all of our lights are all on dimmers. So all your cabinet lights, your exterior lights are all on dimmers to where you can dim them down. But as you can see, there's still a lot of natural light, even with those window shades closed. So I don't know, I think this one really turned out nice. I'm excited to have the customers come and pick this up because I think they're really going to be happy with it. So anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this one. I've got some really unique ones coming up on the build schedule, so you're going to want to stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Like, share, do all those fun things. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I try and respond to the majority of them. A lot of you are probably going to comment about price. Pricing's just going to vary. They're all custom. I'll give you a ballpark. They're going to range $40,000 to about $100,000. So with the majority of our camps coming in that 60 to 90. So anyways, I hope that helps. And like I say, subscribe, like, share, do all those things. It helps us get our product in front of more people.